was kind of the first moment I think in my life where I was, just kind of confronted with like my faith of like, oh, like there's other people like me, or just kind of asking the whys behind my faith.
All right, everybody, welcome back. What are we talking? Restoration Club episode 9, Danny?
9. We're on 9.
If I knew other languages, I'd say a number in that language, but
I think you're looking for
locked in
Nueve
on
there.
English. Nueve, let's go. All right, okay. Well, that's just one. I mean, it's only one language. We could have picked 9, I think. Is that German or is that just no?
I'm not even going to go there. I don't even know.
Yeah, I guess I'll catch this all in the comments. This should be fun. But we are excited about tonight. We have a friend of ours hanging out with us here in the clubhouse. Yeah, I gave us the nickname right here in the Restoration Clubhouse. And we have got Michael Ward joining us tonight. So everybody give it up, little golf claps. We're happy to have him. Michael, I mean, we know you, but go ahead and give us a little snip of who you are for the rest of the audience.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks guys for having me. Super pumped to chat with you all. Yeah, so I was born and raised in southeastern North Carolina. So born and bred Tar Heel in couple different ways, but I won't say where I'm from because it's too long of a conversation because it's a pretty rural area in southeastern North Carolina. Most people kind of pass through it on the way to the beach, but went to school in a small town called Whiteville, North Carolina, not Whiteville, Whiteville.
Appreciate the clarity.
I've lost a little bit of the accent, having not been there since I was 17 or so. But born and raised there, and lived on my my dad's family's farmland that had been in our family for 5 generations. And my mom's parents, my dad's parents were farmers, and they were not farmers. They were the first generation to go to college in their families, as probably most were, around that age, right? That generation. But my parents kind of had this ideal, like they kind of went to college and went off and saw the world, and they really wanted like my sister and I to grow up where they did and have the same experiences around family and kind of small town community. And so we got that experience, and it was pretty unique. My dad was a pilot for US Air, and he was based in Charlotte, which was 3 hours away. And so we probably should have lived in Charlotte, but we kind of got the best of both worlds. Like we would travel with my dad, when he would fly, and then he would come home to his farmland, and this kind of like idyllic lifestyle. So it was a really cool childhood that I had. Went off to college, and around the time that I was in college, the kind of the business of sports was something that I think people were realizing you could kind of capitalize on, and there were a lot more majors around sports administration, exercise and sports science. And so I played sports growing up, played golf growing up, and didn't quite know what I wanted to do, but thought that was an interesting career path, and wanted to find my way back to games and back to sports, and kind of be involved in that after my playing days were done in high school. And so majored in exercise and sports science, and got a degree from UNC Chapel Hill, and just kind of like started my career in sports marketing. And Danny could tell you some of the the business of that. Like it was booming at the time, kind of in the mid to late 2000s, and opportunities were endless. And so I did that for about 12 years at various stops in college athletics, and went down to Florida and did some cool things with the Florida Gators. And then about 2 years ago, moved back to my home state, and moved to Durham, North Carolina, and took a job as the head of marketing and communications for the Durham Bulls. And that was a great experience, and super fun brand, as most people, if you're familiar with sports, know, like the the inspiration behind the movie Bull Durham. And so it was a lot of fun working with the Bulls, and recently just left that job to take a little bit more of a flexible role working in marketing for a health tech company in Chapel Hill. So that's what I'm currently doing. Married to Kelly, been married for 8 years in January, and she's just like the most joyful soul. Just super fun to be around. It's always a blast with her. She kind of like draws me out a little bit. And we have twin 3-year-old boys, Ben and Chase. And life is what you would expect. It's super chaotic. It's everything, man. It's so much fun. It's chaos, but we're loving life right now, and things are good.
I love that. I think we've all got young kids here, and I even have a couple older too, at 21 and 19 years old, and um, the we look at them sometimes as challenges and times, and sometimes we're dead tired and we're just worn out, but there's such a joy with those little feet jumping around. My wife Reem just took a photo of me earlier and sent it to me of one of my sons is laying on my chest. He's 2, and we're essentially reading this devotional on my phone to him, and he's there, and my other son's laying on my legs, and he's 3, and they're just sitting with their dad. And it was such a beautiful memory because, or at least a moment we've made there, because hopefully that's a core memory they have, right? Like as a person, I haven't talked about this a ton on the podcast, but I didn't really have my dad around a lot when I was a kid. My parents had divorced when I was young, and so not having him there, I don't have a lot of those memories with my father that are there. And so having those times together are really special to just soak in it, even in the midst of just being like, oh, I'm beat. It's been a long day, but it's such a joy to be a dad. You know what I mean? So I couldn't imagine. I'd say twins. I can't imagine it. How do you pull it off? Is it coffee? What's the key?
Yeah, I mean, I love some coffee in the morning. I don't know, man. Like, I just think we only have 2, so these were our first 2, and a lot of people ask us that question, and it's just like we didn't really know any better. It was a complete shock when we found out, and kind of an embarrassing moment in my life when we found out that it was twins. We were pregnant during COVID, and so it was like right at the peak or at the beginnings of COVID. We found out March of 2020, and my wife is super sick, and she's a pediatrician, so she kind of has a pulse on like what's going on with these things, and she just knew something was off, and so she was like, I'm way too sick for something not to be off here. And so she went in to get an ultrasound pretty early at like 7 weeks, and I could not go into the office with her, so I was like sitting in the car on FaceTime.
Right.
And they go over, and it's like, oh, there's one heartbeat, and then you kind of like slide around, and there's another. And so we're like, oh, great. And then I had to like take a second because I was like, wait, there's 2? And I think the first word out of my mouth was actually no. Like on FaceTime, I'm sitting here, my wife is holding the phone, just like, the happiest moment of our lives. And I'm like, no, because all I saw was like dollar signs. I saw 2 colleges, 2 cars when they're 16. I saw 2, just 2 of everything. And, I have a plan, right? Like most of us, right?
Yeah.
Like we think it's like, you're going to have a child, maybe in 3 to 4 years, you'll think about another one. Maybe you won't, and my plan in that moment was just gone. And God kind of like slapped me across the face at that time. Was like, dude, you have no idea. It's not you. I'm going to bless you with this. You don't know it right now, but it's going to be the best thing for you. And so that's a moment of just that I look back on, I'm like pretty embarrassed about of my behavior. And I apologized to her, and I don't even think she knew that I said no, but
Thought the words as they were flying out a little bit.
Yeah. But I guess we've all had moments like that of just a little bit of shame. And now it's the greatest thing. I couldn't imagine it any other way. But yeah, there was like some sticker shock initially with what are we getting ourselves into here?
Yeah, isn't
But
it
we just
funny you
didn't know
talk
any
like,
better, So it's like we had
yeah,
to. Let's just
exactly.
like
Well,
go for it. Yeah.
that's a perfect point because, like, if you had a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old, like, it would be like, oh yeah, it's the same things end up, right? It's still two colleges, it's still two kids, but it's when they're combined at the same time. You're in, like you said, sticker
Yeah.
shock goes in, like, oh, let's double all the expectations that I was already putting on this thing and trying to
Yeah.
carry the load twice. And but it's cool that we can lean in to the Father who gives us comfort, wisdom, guidance to be exactly who we're supposed to be in those moments. And then here you are, like you said, you guys are like, this is all we know. There's like it's not as crazy
Yep.
as everybody has it out to be because you were just in it. So that's really awesome, man.
Yeah. And I think God's like this. Fatherhood's been great. We could talk about this for hours, but like it's it's like exposed a lot of my sin in a way. My lack of patience, my selfishness, on down the line. Because I think when you see with your spouse, it's one thing, and when you're dealing with your spouse with um, an issue you're having or a sin that's getting in the way of your relationship. But then when you see it in your kids, like there's just so much more of like an innocence that how it affects them, and they're just so much more impressionable. I don't know. It's been eye opening for me. Each day is new. Each day is a new challenge. But man, it's the greatest blessing. It really is. It's so awesome.
I was gonna say I'll just jump in on that as soon as you were hitting on it. It reminded me. I'm just gonna put it out there. My spouse and I were in the middle of an argument last night, thinking kids are asleep, everybody's in bed, we're just kind of having it out over whatever, and then all of a sudden our oldest like pops in to the kitchen, and we're like, oh no, like that's not what we wanted to have happen. And then realized he was sleepwalking and had no idea what was going on. So we at least averted that conversation. But no, you're exactly right. I think it just exposes so much once you add kids to the mix. But you already started to hit on it a bit, Michael. I was curious, based on the last 3 years of you kind of hitting on somewhat transition, career change, moving geography, finding out you're pregnant during COVID. Did you feel like entering fatherhood was more of an anchor point in the midst of so much changing, or did you not even have a lot of time, I guess, as you said, to think about it, or were you kind of looking forward to it once you got past the initial 2 heartbeats there?
Yeah, it's funny. That's a good question. I'm not sure if I've thought about it that way. We were looking forward to it. I think we were ready for children. We had kind of reached a point when we were living in Florida. We had lived in Gainesville, Florida for 10 years. And we kind of reached a point professionally and I think personally too, where we felt like there was a very defined kind of beginning, middle, and end in our story there. And we kind of reached, for a better part of a year, kind of some endpoints, some things we were seeing. And I think we had talked about children and we were ready. But yeah, I do think like in some storms of just like uncertainty in life, even though we were looking at, various places to move closer to family, having, that anchor of fatherhood, I think was pretty impactful and pretty important. It certainly didn't like make things less complicated, but I think if anything, like it helped us kind of focus in on like what was most important. It's it's our relationship with God and our relationship with our family, keeping our core unit of 4 wards together, and and running on all cylinders. Like if things were getting in the way of that, and I think if we were feeling distraction in any areas of our life, like we tried to be very purposeful about managing expectations with people, or just being purposeful with our time. So I think if anything, like it made us focus in our efforts a little bit more and communication more as a family and things like that.
Do you kind of a shift in our convo here because we're here right now in this moment and looking at where you've come from and kind of you've landed in this moment right now. How did you connect into Restoration Club? Like how are you sitting here today in this sense of how'd you connect here?
Yeah, with our boy Danny Christensen there, the third member.
I've heard of him. Sounds like a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good dude, isn't he? He's a good dude. No, so Danny and I actually go way back. Danny's one of my older friends, actually. It's a great story. I'll try not to be too long-winded, but I met Danny when I was the summer after my senior year of high school. And Danny was on a mission trip with Campus Crusade for Christ. And he was working at a Polo Ralph Lauren factory store. Shout out to Polo Ralph Lauren in Myrtle Beach. And I was home. I lived near Myrtle Beach. I grew up near there. And one of the kids who went to school with me had a job there. And she was like, hey, like, I can get you a job. And I was looking for work over the summer and just was an easy job for me. And I was like, oh, Polo, that's pretty cool. You can outfit my wardrobe for the next few years. And so I met Danny. Like Danny was down there with a group of college kids for the summer, and it was super interesting. I grew up in the church. My family, most of my family were Christians, and I was kind of raised in a Christian home. And it was kind of the first moment I think in my life where I was, just kind of confronted with like my faith of like, oh, like there's other people like me, or just kind of asking the whys behind my faith. And that was a really fun summer, getting to know Danny and kind of staying in touch over the years. Everybody probably listening knows Danny's background, but as I progressed in sports, the business of sports, like Danny had kind of a parallel career, right? And we just stayed in touch over the years. And a couple of years ago, we were just chatting one day, and he was like, I might be having something come up that I want you to be a part of. And that was kind of the first conversation I had with him around Restoration Club. Like just invited me to the Builders Cup 1. And fortunately, like we had moved to North Carolina. So I got to go down, and I was working for the Durham Bulls at the time. And so my schedule just wasn't as flexible. So I was not able to make the whole cup, but was there at Southern Pines. And that was a really cool day. I think for me, my memories of that were, really just like spending time with you, Danny, like reconnecting, because we hadn't seen each other in years. We chatted via text and just kind of kept up. But it was a super cool kind of 4 or 5 hours to catch up with you. And then really see, like, I kind of thought about that day as like just this birth of something. Looking back on it, I wasn't there for 3 days, but I kind of like dropped in and just saw like all these guys from all over the country with a similar vision and just similar purpose. And COVID was still going on a little bit at that time, so I think people were kind of looking for an outlet. And that was a super cool day for me, just being able to like reconnect with you, Danny, and just Ryan. I think we met on the range, and like even at the halfway house at Southern Pines, we like chatted a little bit. That was kind of like my entry into Restoration Club initially.
Cool.
I was going to say, I'll interject with my side quickly, and I won't be long-winded either. But it's funny. I was thinking about it somewhat today, knowing we were going to talk with you. And I tried to embrace the fact that we've reached the age now where even when we say, oh, yeah, like we go way, way back, and you would not think way back now is 18 years, but it's not 18 years, which is hard.
My life, dude. Isn't that wild?
That's pretty crazy. So
Awesome.
no, we to Michael's point, we had 5 guys that summer. We all had full-time jobs. That was kind of part of the requirement of being a part of this trip, and it was really just a ministry opportunity to get to know people locally and in the community. And so I had the opportunity to come alongside a lot of people and peers Michael's age, and got to hang out with him a ton that summer. Some intense pickup basketball. I'll throw that out there. Michael's a baller.
Yes.
I don't think I got to see him swing a golf club outside of maybe like an evening lit par 3 outing. So the fact that we were able to get him into to Southern Pines as part of Builders Cup 1 was pretty fun. I don't know if I want to claim that I enjoyed having him in my cart and making me look bad all day, but the conversation was more than enjoyable. That's for sure.
With that, Michael, how, like, we talk about Restoration Club being this space around golf and for men to connect and kind of find this point of direction for them and have a community of men around them as we travel through the golf space. Why is it golf for you? Like, what is it about golf for you? And maybe even where's your root in golf? I know you mentioned playing when you were younger. When did you start? And then how did golf keep staying the thing for you?
Yeah. Initially golf was kind of a fourth sport for me, which became a third sport. So I went to a really small school, and I grew up playing basketball and played soccer, kind of going into middle school, and played baseball. Baseball was kind of my first sport that I played. But as I was getting into middle school, I really just kind of grew out of love with baseball. And for some reason, there was our principal, made a deal with one of the golf courses, down near the Ocean Isle Beach area, to have middle school kids go and like take lessons, hit on the range, and then play a few holes during the spring. And I had chosen to not play baseball. I think that was the first year. I was probably maybe 8th grade, I think. So I was 12 or 13. And it was the first year that I hadn't done that. And so my dad was like, well, you got to do something. Like, you can't just not, be active, or, you're not going to like sit at the house all spring. So I was just really interested in golf. And obviously it was the time where, Tiger's coming around and the late 90s. And so it was like, oh, golf is, let's try this thing out. It's kind of cool. So yeah, I did that spring, and it was like me and 5 or 6 other kids. And I just kind of stuck with it. So yeah, my entry into golf was middle school. And then I kind of pulled my dad in, and I pulled my uncle in. And that was kind of our little, like, our group. My middle school and high school years, every Saturday morning we would go play. So my memories of golf are just like with my dad, with my uncle, playing Saturday mornings, and then going to have lunch after, talking about the shots you hit. They kind of, started playing with me, and they developed this love for it. So it's super like, familial for me. It's just, I just have such fond memories from my start into golf. As I look to now, I think, I've stayed with it. Obviously I don't play as much as I want to because of, life circumstance. But yeah, I've always kind of thought of golf as like, I think since I've been an adult, it's just a great opportunity to meet people. You can tee it off with someone who you don't know, and then in like 9 holes, like, you can be close friends. Obviously, like in my line of work, like, networking was important, and so being able to play golf, I was invited to golf tournaments because I was like the guy in the office who played golf. And but it became an outlet for me to like build community over time. It started out, as a family activity and just some like core memory from my formative years. And I think over time it's developed into a little more, community building. And then I think the flip side of that is, having space to be reflective on the golf course. There's days where I enjoy going out by myself and playing 9 holes or getting on the range for 45 minutes and just feel super at home out there. It's peaceful, it's tranquil. I just feel like it's a space where I can, think at my best. And I'm certainly feel closer to God on the golf course outside in nature. So I enjoy the community building aspect of it. I enjoy playing with my friends. I enjoy meeting new friends and building relationships through the game. But, just as much, I enjoy just solitude and peace. And, I think part of that maybe is I'm probably not the most extroverted. My wife is probably an extreme extrovert. She likes to tell me that I'm an introvert. I don't know if that's fully true, but I'm certainly less extroverted than her. So I just enjoy, some space to kind of think and cast a vision for, whatever else is coming up in my life, and just kind of be reflective too. So there's kind of the, both sides of it that I really enjoy.
Michael, I was going to say maybe that's why we get along so well. I'll go ahead and set you at ease here. My wife is extremely extroverted, and I've embraced the term that I am an extroverted introvert.
Right.
So
that's what I say.
Forced extroversion. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in our house, the fun part is we're both my wife and I are out of the ordinary, both extroverts. It's pretty annoying being around us, but we'll take you anywhere and you're gonna have a good time. Yeah, there's always something going on, but we have learned as the years have gone on to kind of we really, most people, an introvert will recharge by being alone, and extroverts typically get energy from around people. And her and I are kind of morphing into that together, meaning when we're together by ourselves, because we're still with someone, it really helps us kind of reset our energy, and it feels really good and that kind of thing. And I'm learning as I get older even that I kind of enjoy those. Let me go out and just play 9 by myself, or let me go in the backyard and hit the net, and just not even about the ball. It's just about the quiet and looking at trees and checking out the grass beneath my feet, or making a really cathartic moment and look at it and just go, oh, this is good, So I think that's what's cool about it.
Totally. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to. I mean, Danny, I know you're there. I don't know if you've done this yet, but I'm looking forward to taking the kids out. I mean, they've shown a little interest. We've got them some clubs, and haven't quite made the leap to taking them to a driving range yet. I play that out in my head. How's that going to work with 2 boys? People, balls flying everywhere. Who's gonna go to the ER? How's that gonna work? But yeah, I want them around the game. I think it was just so impactful for my dad and I's relationship, especially when I was in high school, when I probably wasn't the best kid to be around sometimes. Every teenage kid is moody sometimes. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next few years of hopefully getting my kids out there and building some memories with them.
Michael, you talked about being maybe somewhat of an introvert, but when it comes to the game, because I agree with you, I think there's a recharge process of just being still out there and enjoying being out there. I feel like one thing that I take away or have taken away from the Builders Cup events or other events that we've done, or just being intentional, Ryan and I or other guys locally in Charlotte getting out to play together, which is our hope for everybody involved in this thing, is to get out and to be intentional. And speaking to us knowing each other 18 years, I feel like we've kind of picked up exactly where we left off every few years or so, which has been fun. But I think in terms of building those types of relationships, I feel like depending on interests, a lot of default for guys is talking about sports or finding one common ground. And I feel like when it comes to a shared faith, and then beyond that, being intentional to understand each other's families and how you're building community and career and everything else that comes along with that. I feel like when I've been to our events, it feels like people are coming with an intention to not just, hey, I get to go play some golf with other guys. In your mindset, maybe even if it was out of the comfort zone somewhat, did you come with kind of a plan for yourself or a goal for yourself of, this might look a little different, but I know I'm coming with a purpose, and maybe that speaks to some other guys in terms of their headspace of wanting to get involved in this thing, but kind of how do I do that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yes. I think one of the cool one of the things that I was intrigued with obviously was certainly I was like if Danny's owning this thing, if he's on board, like I'm on board, like I'm there. Um, and so I think that's number one. Was just kind of my initial thoughts, but two, like, and I heard Wes say this on the podcast. It's like, I was looking for some friendships too. That was an element of it too, where I have kind of like different pockets of friendships, just because of life circumstance. It seems like I've got, some close friends in Florida. I've got close friends spread out, some friends from college, but not really like a core group where I'd take 12 of my best friends and we'd go to Bandon Dunes or we go to Pinehurst or wherever. And I'm not saying like that's what this is, because it's so much deeper than that. But I really wanted to be on the golf course, a place that I love, with like-minded people who had a like-minded faith. I think that's probably at its simplest. And whatever came out of that, I was super pumped about. And for me, like, I think I mentioned this, is like for the first Builders Cup was a little bit of like a dip in the water. It was like, kind of put the toe in and be like, oh, what is this? It was a little bit of like a birth of something. And I felt like I missed some connection because I just wasn't able to be there. And I was really bummed about that. And I, had some good text conversations with some guys and some good chats that came out of that. But I was like, man, like I missed something. And so that's why I was really pumped about last month's second Builders Cup 2, to be able to be there the whole time and be able to like stay at the old Church of Pinehurst and like, sit around the table with the guys and just go on a deeper level. And, Ryan, playing with you at Tot Hill or at Tallamore the second day, getting to know Jared Merbitz, at Tallamore, just spending like super quality time with guys who have gone before me and kind of like can bring some wisdom to me. Yeah. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I was looking for, guys who were like-minded, who came from all over, from different backgrounds, but just wanted to play golf and share their life and share their struggles and be open and real. And I think golf gives you that opportunity, right? Like you got 4 to 5 hours and, you could talk about the weather, you could talk about sports for 4 hours, but I've done that and it's like, it gets kind of stale after a while. So there was something different about, my time at Southern Pines with you guys a couple years ago. Certainly the interactions after, and then Builders Cup 2, I walked away from all those events, meeting people, seeing them for 4 hours or for 24, 48 hours or whatever it was, and feeling like I was really close friends and really, just really tight with some guys. And just, I know that, Ryan, if I had to call you or text you, if something was like going south in my life, like you'd be a guy that I could call. Same thing with you, Danny. Same thing with so many other guys. So yeah, there's something different about it. I think we all know what it is. It's like we share Lord and Savior, man. And like, so, yeah, that's my take on it. Is it's bigger than golf. It's bigger than us. And, I'm pumped to see like where it goes.
You had me at
just
12 guys
another
going to
quick
Bandon
story.
Dunes. That's all I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. Just another quick story on that. So at Builders Cup 2, there's a guy named Shane Wood, who you guys know, who joined us. I'm going to get this wrong, so Shane, please forgive me if you're listening. Was in Montana, recently moved to Arizona, I think is his story.
You got it. You're tracking.
I played with him. Ryan was in our group at Tallamore the second day. So I rode with him. And I had met him at Tot Hill. We had like some side conversations the night before. We talked, that night after the round. And I was just like, man, this dude's coming from Arizona. Like this is legit. So I was super pumped to play with him the following day at Tallamore. We instantly bonded because he had, love for college basketball. So we started talking about North Carolina. He's a big Gonzaga fan. So we started talking about that. Um, I noticed he had a head cover, and it was this like beautiful head cover. It had a cross on it. It had like a hands praying. It's just this beautiful design, and the company, the name I'm blanking on, I think it was called Hatch. Is the name of the company. They make kind of custom head covers, and I don't even remember making this comment. It was definitely a throwaway comment, but I just looked at it and I was like, dude, that's an awesome head cover. Like that's super sweet. And 3 weeks later, I get a package in the mail from Goodyear, Arizona. And I'm like, I don't know anybody in Goodyear, Arizona. I don't even know where Goodyear, Arizona is. Have my name on it, everything. And so I'm like, oh, this is weird. So I open it up and there's a note and it's like, hey, Mike, I had so much fun at Builders Cup 2 with you. It was great getting to play with you at Tallamore. I remembered you made a comment about this head cover, about the cool design it was. It's called the Resurrection cover. Is the name of the head cover. It's a putter cover, and it's called the Resurrection head cover by this company. And I thought you would need it more than I was because you liked the color, and it was kind of like a Carolina blue or like a light blue. And he was like, I thought you could use it more than I could because of the color. He said, and he was like, praying for you and your family. Can't wait to play again soon. And I was just blown away. And like, I texted him, and I don't know if it even came across, but like how special that is to me. Like it immediately went on my bag. It'll stay on my bag. And I will always look at that head cover and think back to Tallamore, back to Builders Cup, and just Shane and I like sharing a bond and building something together, building a relationship, having known the guy for just a few hours. So that's Restoration Club, man. It's just guys coming together and supporting each other, and doing it for a bigger purpose. And so, yeah, I definitely, I struggled to accept that one because I was like, man, this is like, I don't know. I was just like really honored to receive that. And Shane's a good dude, so shout out Shane if you're listening. Yeah. You're my guy, and can't wait to play with you again, man.
Shane Wood, way to go!
Yeah,
I mean, you just filmed an unsolicited commercial for Restoration Club right there, because it's just the truth is, I think the thing that it is about, you mentioned the shared faith piece. And the reason that the shared faith piece is so important is that all of these men are all desiring connection, right? We want to connect with our Father. We want to connect with other men. That's the key. And it's that, Dan, you mentioned the word earlier, that intentional piece. And so when we are intentional in creating good relationships, right? Because we can all have relationships, but about having good ones that are reciprocal. And it's not just energy vampires that are taking, or we're taking from them only and all this other stuff, but it's this together bond. I think that for men in general, and I hope I can speak for the entire existence of all of us, that we really crave, to be heard. We crave to be seen, and just a package arriving from wherever Goodyear, Arizona is, which I'll have to Google after this.
It's a suburb of Phoenix. I looked it up. It's a suburb of Phoenix.
That I can do. I can have Phoenix. Yeah. Shout out Phoenix. But it's that piece that, like, you just mentioned that little thing, and he felt the prompt and he put action to it. And that's exactly what this is, man. Yeah. It's so cool. That's, man. Yeah. Shout out Shane Wood again. That's what I'm talking about.
You guys, what are you doing interviewing me? Please interview Shane. Like, why am I here? That's how I feel. Why am I here? Like, Shane needs to be here. It's my guy.
As soon as you were talking about your experience at the most recent Builders Cup, I started racing through my head of the people that were there, and you started talking about where people came from, and my head immediately went to Shane. And I don't want to, in my head, I was thinking, I don't know where he's going to go with this, but I love that you shared that story. It's amazing. But I was thinking too, I'd love to, and I'm sure we will get Shane on here, but he was one of the first people that I saw when we were there. And obviously, based on my involvement, I generally knew everybody that was there for the most part. And he was one guy I had no idea. And so I went up to him on the putting green prior to the round at Todd Hill and was just curious, hey, how'd you come to get here? And he, I think, had followed, our co-founder, Jeff Marsh, online, as most people do, based on his photography. But like, that was his connection, and he knew that this was going down, and the guy picked up from Arizona, young gun Shane Wood. I think he's only a year into marriage, and just said, you know what, I'm gonna go do this thing. And same thing. I mean, I think he was one of those guys, as we talk about intention, that was like, I'm gonna leave from this not feeling like, oh, I just had a great golf trip.
Yeah.
I think he was just very intentional, and over the time that he had there. And I know we talk about this a lot, Ryan, with other guys too, that we want to be intentional of creating those types of cups and events to send guys away feeling like, the storehouse is filled again, if you will. But the hope is to go back to your respective communities and to reconfigure the same thing. But I love that guys, Michael, like you, in the Raleigh area, and guys like Shane in Arizona, guys like Kevin in Chicago, are now able to say, hey, I got guys in Charlotte and guys, all over the place, based on this, but I want to do it here too, which is pretty fun to think about. Michael, I had to ask too. I know you did a short stint in Chapel Hill. I just saw our guy Billy Richards drop some legendary shots of, is it the Finley course? Did you have a chance to go play that one while you're there?
I haven't played Finley yet. Well, I played Finley a ton in college, and played it a ton last year. Yeah, they were under renovation for the last year. They did a lot of interesting things. So Davis Love, who played at Carolina, did the redesign. They had to clear some land for the golf team, so they took out 2 holes and they added some new holes. It is a pretty incredible redesign. Yeah, I love Finley, but I haven't played it yet. It just opened up a couple weeks ago. I've been trying to get out there, but haven't been yet.
Nice.
We're just up the road. Just call us, man. We're ready.
Come on. You can stay here. You might have to bunk with the boys, but
listen, it's life already.
That's nothing new. I was gonna say it's nothing new.
Yeah, you're familiar.
I love it. Well, go. Hey, Danny, I know what you're about to say. Why don't you go ahead and tackle that one?
I was just gonna say, course aside, destination aside, Michael, our favorite question from every episode. What is your favorite memory on a golf course not involving a golf club?
Yeah, it's a good one. Had to put some thought to this, and I have to. I think I associate, favorite kind of memories with different seasons of life. I think the first one is kind of like tongue in cheek, but I was working at the University of Florida in their sports marketing office, and I was leading the marketing efforts for the baseball program. And if you're familiar with college baseball, Florida baseball is incredibly successful, probably the most successful program of the last 15 years. We won the national championship in 2017. And that year we were marching to Omaha, like we're I think we're playing Wake Forest in the super regional in the clinching game to get to Omaha. And our star pitcher, our number 1 pitcher, Brady Singer, who's now pitching for the Kansas City Royals, he got caught in a rain delay. If you know anything about baseball, it's like he was out there pitching for 2 innings, and then June in Florida, heavens opened up, and you're going to be like an hour to 2 hours minimum in a rain delay. And so his arm's going to get a little tired. It's going to get a little stiff. So he can't go back out to pitch. And so that's like a pretty big disadvantage for us. So the TV cameras caught him in the rain delay, like as we're coming off the field, saying some like pretty choice words, just like super frustrated. And it was like a pretty memeable moment. It's out there if you want to see it, but he was not happy with the umpires, with TV, with everything. He was just super frustrated and a fiery dude. So fast forward, we go on to win that game. We win the College World Series a few weeks later. The next year, I'm kind of thinking up like marketing ideas, and like my brain immediately is like, let's go back to Brady and see if we can recreate that moment where he just like lost his mind, but let's do it on the golf course. Because I had learned over the summer that all of the pitchers would go out on Monday before Monday was like their off day. So they would go out to the university golf course on Monday and they would play like 9 holes. And that was like kind of their off day thing. And so I kind of had these little nuggets and I'm like, okay, cool. Let me see if I can use that. So I got our, a production company together and we like developed this idea for a spot along with, 2 of my buddies who I'm super close to, our PR guy and our video guy. We developed this idea for a spot where the sprinklers turn on the golf course. Like the pitchers are playing and the sprinklers turn on and Brady's like about to hit like a 20-foot birdie putt. And his pitcher buddies are like chirping him and like everything. And so as soon as he like takes the putter back, the sprinklers turn on and he just like loses his mind. So he like starts throwing clubs, he's kicking a bag, he like takes his shirt off, takes his hat off and just like storms off and really like made fun of himself and like super took it in stride and like hammed it up for us. And that was our TV spot for the whole year that ran in Gainesville and Orlando. So the idea was like just this pitcher off day, kind of poking fun at Brady, losing his mind on, I think the game was on ESPN2 or something like that. So losing his mind. And I had to get some clearance from like several people to do that, to kind of have our, potential like top 10 draft pick, like just make fun of himself. So that whole day we filmed on the golf course was like one of my favorite memories because I was with 2 of my close friends. I had, these guys who would go on to pitch in Major League Baseball with me and, a close associate and colleague of mine at work. And we were just out there filming for like 2 hours and it was just a blast, man. It was like some of the most fun I've had just being out on a golf course without a club. So that was one, like that was just a super kind of tongue in cheek. And the other one I think kind of goes back to my dad and my uncle who I grew up playing with, talking about UNC Findlay, the golf course again, Danny. My aunt, my uncle's wife, passed away when I was a junior in college, kind of suddenly, and kind of like threw our family for a loop. Like she was someone who held the family together. Kind of was always like, trying to get us together for dinner, for holidays, and just she loved all that stuff. And she passed away, and I was actually in summer school up here at UNC. And my dad had not played Finley. My uncle had not played Finley. And so about 3 months after she passed away, we took a day where we just played at Finley. And it was a really cool moment. I remember playing like pretty bad, but that was not what it was about. It was about my dad, my uncle, just kind of like, I would say it was like a period of 3 or 4 months of grief that we were kind of closing. Just being able to get out on the course for 4 hours and be together, just enjoy each other's company, and kind of reflect on her life. And I vividly remember a picture that we took at the starters stand there at Finley. And when I had an office, I don't have an office anymore, but when I had an office, it was up in the office, and I have it somewhere here at the house, but it was like a super prized photo. And that was just like a prized moment for me of just like being with 2 men who helped raise me and kind of closing out just like a tough period in my family. And that was like a really like core moment on a golf course that, didn't involve hitting a shot. It's just being there with them, kind of like soaking it all in. So 2 kind of very different memories, but yeah.
But those are powerful in both layers. Like just the first one's cool, and I think it's just a great use of your creativity and your brain, and the second one just your heart piece and that. And I'm even in the moment here of our past 30 or so minutes of reflecting back at you saying how you got your father and your uncle into golf in general. That like you were in it and then they got into it. Next thing you know, here's this full circle moment where you get to kind of create this healing time of just togetherness. That's a really powerful piece. So kudos to you to follow that lead on that and connecting that all together. That's really cool, man. That's the key to this thing, man. It's it is not that big of a world. The only thing that's big about it is we have a big God, and we have the opportunity to be living this thing together. So here we are all connected in North Carolina, and people across the globe listening to this thing is such a powerful thing to recognize that being a part of this club is all inclusive, and we all get to be a part of it and really have some amazing opportunities to connect with one another. So it's really cool.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Thanks, Mike. Whew. All right, guys. That was episode 9 of the Restoration Club podcast. Loved having my guy, Michael Ward, Mr. Ward, on the pod. If you guys have not seen this podcast on our YouTube channel, if you've only heard the audio, one, you have to watch this one simply because you got to catch Mr. Grammatico's stash. That's number one. And then we haven't had too many guests that have gone no hat can't lay. I don't know if Michael was protesting anything on that one or not, but
I didn't want to bring it up in the episode, but I did notice no hat was one of the first ones we've ever had. So I'm intrigued to hear about it.
Exactly. He makes it look good though. But no, we appreciate him. We appreciate you guys listening in. Make sure you tune in to upcoming episodes. Check us out everywhere you can catch the pod, as well as the YouTube channel. As I said, check us out on Instagram, restoration_club, restorationclub.co. Go grab some merch. Pop into the Discord channel if you guys aren't on that app already. We got chapters all over the place. Feels like we're still adding them. Love to see it. Hope you guys can meet up. Keep us posted. If you guys meet up locally, we want to hear about it. We'd love to give you guys a shout out. Take some shots too while you're out there. But appreciate you guys. And until next time, Ryan, keep swinging.
Keep swinging.